Carmen Sanchez woke up. The sound was a metal door slamming shut. It was not her door. It was further down the hall. She held her breath. She listened. Another door slammed. Closer this time. She counted in her head. It was the 7th day. The 7th morning of the new girl. The one who said no to the warden. Carmen looked across the dark cell. She saw Mariana Flores in the next bed. Mariana was awake too. Her eyes were wide with fear. She was pulling her thin blanket up to her chin. The footsteps stopped outside a cell not far from theirs. A key turned in a lock. The door creaked open. There was a whisper. Then a muffled cry. Then the sound of dragging. Then silence. Carmen closed her eyes. The new girl was gone. Just like the others. This was Cerro Negro Prison. A place for women. A place where Warden de la Vega was the king. The morning bell rang. It was time to get up. The women moved like ghosts. They lined up to use the washroom. The air was cold and smelled of mold. Carmen stood at a cracked sink. She splashed dirty water on her face. A woman moved close to her. It was Beatriz Mendoza. Beatriz was older. She had survived here for 5 years. No one knew how. You heard? Beatriz whispered, not looking at Carmen. She pretended to wash her hands. Carmen gave a small nod. She fought him last night, Beatriz said softly. He did not like that. Beatriz moved away. Carmen felt cold. She looked at herself in the broken piece of mirror on the wall. Her face was thin, but her hair was neat. Her prison clothes were as clean as she could make them. This small thing, her appearance, was the only thing she could control. It was the only thing that kept her sane. Later, they walked to the work area. They sewed clothes for a factory outside. Carmen sat next to Sonia Morales. Sonia was quiet. She was a teacher before prison. Now, she was a thief, according to the papers. But Carmen knew the truth. Sonia was here because she saw a politician do a bad thing. Carmen saw Sonia slip a small, handmade notebook from her sleeve. She quickly wrote something in it. Then she hid it again. Sonia was writing everything down. The abuses, the names, the dates. It was a dangerous thing to do. If the guards found it, she would be the next one to disappear. Suddenly, the main door to the workshop opened. Everyone froze. Warden de la Vega walked in. He was a big man. He wore a clean, white uniform. He smiled. It was a cold, empty smile. His eyes moved over the women, like he was shopping for meat. Carmen immediately looked down at her hands. She focused on the sewing needle. Do not look at him. Do not invite his attention. She had learned this the hard way. He had touched her face once during inspection. His fingers were cold. She had flinched. He had smiled. He liked it when they were afraid. The warden's boots clicked on the floor as he walked between the tables. He stopped near Mariana. He put a hand on her shoulder. Mariana flinched. She looked like she wanted to be sick. How are you today, Flores? He asked. His voice was soft, but it carried in the quiet room. I am fine, Warden, Mariana whispered. Her voice shook. Good, he said. He squeezed her shoulder. Then he moved on. Carmen let out a quiet breath. She kept her eyes down until he left the room. The moment the door closed, the room filled with the sound of soft crying. It was Mariana. That afternoon, a guard came for Carmen. Sanchez, warden's office. Now, Carmen's heart jumped into her throat. Why? What did she do? She looked at Beatriz. Beatriz's face was serious. She gave a small, almost invisible shake of her head. A warning. Carmen followed the guard. The halls were long and painted a sick green color. They walked up a flight of stairs to the administration area. It was cleaner here. Quieter. The guard opened a door. Go in. Carmen walked into the warden's office. It was a large room. A big fan turned slowly on the ceiling. The warden sat behind a large, wooden desk. Another officer, a woman named Luz Garcia, stood nearby. She looked nervous. Senorita Sanchez, the warden said. He did not smile. Sit. Carmen sat in the chair in front of the desk. I have news, he said. He leaned forward. Your case. There was a problem. A mistake with the papers. Your sentence is overturned. You are a free woman. Carmen stared at him. She could not believe it. Free? It was not possible. She felt dizzy. It is true. Officer Garcia said softly. She held out a paper. This is your release form. Tears filled Carmen's eyes. Freedom. She thought she would die in this place. But then the warden spoke again. His voice was low. Your freedom did not fall from the sky, Sanchez. Your family. They worked very hard for this. Carmen's joy turned cold. My family. What did they do? The warden smiled his cold smile. They showed dedication. They sold their little shop. The one your father built. They gave the money to the right people. To me. Carmen felt like he had punched her. Her family's store. It was everything they had. They sold it to bribe this monster. It is a lesson, the warden said. A lesson about how things work. You are leaving. But the prison continues. My work continues. You understand? What happens inside these walls stays inside these walls. It was a threat. A clear one. Officer Garcia handed her the paper to sign. As Carmen took the pen, Officer Garcia's hand brushed against hers. A small, folded piece of paper was pressed into Carmen's palm. Carmen closed her hand around it quickly. The warden did not see. An hour later, Carmen walked out of the main gate of Cerro Negro. The sun was too bright. The air was too clean. She was free. She walked to the nearest town and found a bus. She went to her mother's house. The house was small and poor. Her mother cried and held her. She confirmed the warden's story. They had sold the shop. They had nothing left. But we have you, Mija, her mother said. That is all that matters. That night, in her old bed, Carmen had a nightmare. She dreamed of the warden. He was touching her face. Then, he was dragging the new girl down the hall. The girl was screaming. Then the screaming stopped. Carmen woke up, screaming herself. She sat in the dark, shaking. She thought of the women she left behind. Mariana, Sonia, Beatrice. She thought of the new girl who was gone. She thought of the note from Officer Garcia. She had read it in the bathroom. It said only, "They are everywhere. Trust no one." Carmen knew she could not be silent. She could not live with this secret. She had to tell someone. 3 days later, she took a bus to a different town. San Cristobal. It was far away. She found the police station. It looked clean and official. This was a good place, she thought. They will help. She walked inside. A young officer sat at a desk. He had a friendly face. "Can I help you, señorita?" he asked. "My name is Carmen Sanchez," she said. "I need to report a crime. A very bad crime." The officer's smile faded. He became serious. "Of course. Please, come to this room. We can talk privately." He led her to a small interview room. He brought her a cup of coffee. He sat down. "I am Officer Javier Rojas. You can tell me everything." So Carmen told him. She told him about Warden de la Vega. She told him about the women who were forced to be with him. She told him about the women who said no. She told him about the slamming doors in the night. The women who disappeared. Officer Rojas listened. He wrote notes. He looked angry. He looked like a good man who hated injustice. "This is a very serious thing you are saying," he said when she finished. "Very serious. We will investigate this. I promise you." Carmen felt a heavy weight lift from her heart. Finally, someone was listening. "But you must be careful," Officer Rojas said. He leaned closer. "These men you speak of, they are dangerous. You must tell no one that you came here. For your own safety. Go home. Live your life. We will contact you when we have news." Carmen thanked him. She gave him her mother's address and phone number. She left the police station feeling hopeful for the first time in years. She did not see what happened after she left. Officer Javier Rojas watched her walk down the street from the window. Then he turned and walked to a private office in the back of the station. He closed the door. He picked up the phone and dialed a number he knew by heart. A man answered. "It's Rojas," the officer said. "We have a problem. A woman named Carmen Sanchez was just here. She told me everything. About the prison. About you." On the other end of the line, Warden de la Vega was silent for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice a low growl. "Where is she now?" "She just left. I have her address." "But she talked. She knows too much." "Then you know what to do," the warden said. "Find her. Silence her. Before she speaks to anyone else." Part 2. In Mexico City, a woman stood in a clean, modern office. Her name was Captain Rosa Jimenez. She wore a sharp police uniform. Her boss, Lieutenant Raul Ortega, pointed to a map. "This is the Cerro Negro district," he said. "The prison, there is a black hole. Bad things happen. Women disappear. People complain. Then the complaints vanish." He looked at Rosa. "We have sent people before. They found nothing. Or, they stopped reporting. We think the local police are part of the problem. We cannot trust them." Rosa nodded. She was a strong woman. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "What do you need me to do, sir?" she asked. "We need someone on the inside," Ortega said. "Someone who can see the truth. We received a report from a woman who was freed. A woman named Carmen Sanchez. Her report was sent to us by a friend inside the San Cristobal police. A whistleblower. It confirms our worst fears." He handed Rosa a file. Inside were pictures of Warden de la Vega, and Officer Javier Rojas. These are the main targets, Ortega said. Your mission is to get inside the prison. Become an inmate. Find evidence. Evidence we can use in court. I understand, Rosa said. It is very dangerous, Ortega warned. If they discover who you are, you will die. They will make you disappear. I am ready, Rosa said. Meanwhile, Carmen was at her mother's house. She felt nervous. She kept looking out the window. She saw a black car. It had no license plate. It was parked across the street. It was there for a long time. Later, a man came to the neighbor's house. He showed a badge. He asked questions about Carmen. The neighbor pointed to Carmen's house. Carmen saw this from her window. Her blood went cold. Officer Rojas had betrayed her. He had told the warden. They had found her. She had to run. Now, she grabbed her bag. She put in some money and her ID card. Nothing else. Mama, I have to go, she said, her voice shaking. Why? What is wrong? Her mother asked, scared. The men from the prison. They are here. I am not safe. You are not safe if I stay. She kissed her mother quickly and ran out the back door. She climbed over the fence into another yard. She did not look back. That evening, Javier Rojas and 2 other officers kicked open the door of Carmen's house. They searched it. They found nothing. They were angry. She is gone, one officer said. Javier saw a notebook. It was where Carmen had written down some names of other prisoners. Evidence. Destroy this, he said. Then he took a small bag of drugs from his pocket. He put it under Carmen's bed. Now we have a reason to find her. She is a drug dealer who escaped justice. Carmen ran through the dark streets. She had no plan. She had no one to trust. Then she remembered a name. Roberto Sandoval. A journalist. He had written about corruption before. She had met him once. She found his apartment building. She knocked on his door. A man opened the door. He looked tired. He held a glass of alcohol. He was Roberto. What do you want? He asked, annoyed. My name is Carmen Sanchez. You do not know me. I was in Cerro Negro prison. The warden is a monster. I went to the police, but they work for him. Now they are trying to kill me. Roberto stared at her. He was drunk and disillusioned. He wanted no more trouble. I cannot help you, he said, and started to close the door. Carmen put her foot in the door. Please, I have proof. She showed him the scars on her arms. She told him about the new girl who disappeared. She told him about Officer Rojas. Roberto listened. He saw the truth in her eyes. He saw her fear. He remembered why he became a journalist. Okay, he said, opening the door. Come in. But you cannot stay long. It is not safe. The next day, Rosa saw a notice asking for volunteers to clean the administrative offices. This was her chance. She signed up immediately. She was taken to the clean, quiet wing of the prison. The warden's office was there. She was given a bucket and a rag. Clean everything. Do not touch the papers on the desks. The guard ordered before leaving her alone. The moment the door closed, Rosa moved. She wasn't there to clean. She pulled a small camera from a hidden seam in her uniform, a device Ortega had given her. She went to the file cabinets. She photographed everything. Financial records. Guard schedules. Then, she found it. A ledger of payments. Unexplained cash payments to J.R. Javier Rojas, and others. Her hands were steady, but her heart was pounding. This was the proof. Suddenly, she heard voices in the hall. The warden and Javier Rojas were coming. She had nowhere to hide. She shoved the camera back into her seam, grabbed her rag, and dropped to the floor, pretending to scrub a stubborn spot. The door opened. The warden and Javier walked in, not noticing her at first. Narrowed it down to the journalist district, Javier was saying. She is with that drunk, Sandoval. I will find her. Find her fast. The warden snapped, his voice tense. I have a bad feeling. The new inmate, the teacher, there is something about her. She is too calm. Rosa held her breath, scrubbing the same spot over and over. They were talking about Carmen, and they were suspicious of her. Officer Luz Garcia walked into the office. She saw Rosa on the floor. She saw the warden and Javier. Her eyes met Rosa's for a second. There was a silent understanding. Warden, Luz said loudly, drawing their attention. This inmate is slow. She has been in here for an hour. I will make her work faster. The warden glanced at Rosa, then waved a hand. Just get her out. I have work to do. Luz grabbed Rosa's arm and pulled her out of the office. In the hall, she leaned close. You are not cleaning, Luz whispered, her voice tight with fear. You are looking. You will get us both killed. She pushed a mop into Rosa's hands. Now really clean. And do not be so stupid again. Rosa understood. Luz Garcia was not an enemy. She was a woman trapped by her own fear. She was a potential ally. But time was running out. The warden was paranoid. Javier was closing in on Carmen. And Rosa was on his radar. The net was tightening. Part 4. The warden could not stop thinking about the new inmate, Elena. She was different. She was not broken. Her eyes were calm. They held no fear. This disturbed him. He called Javier Rojas to his office. The teacher, Elena Vega. Her paperwork was too clean. Too perfect. Dig deeper. I want to know everything about her. Where she lived. Who her family is. Everything. Javier nodded. I will look into it. Later that day, Rosa was summoned to the warden's office again. Her heart beat fast. Did he know? He was sitting behind his desk, smiling. Sit, Elena. We need to talk about your rehabilitation. He stood up and walked around the desk. He stood too close to her. She could smell his cologne. A smart woman like you should not be in a place like this, he said, his voice oily. He put a hand on her shoulder. Perhaps we can find an arrangement. A way to make your time here more comfortable. His meaning was clear. Rosa felt her skin crawl. She kept her eyes down, playing her part. I just want to serve my time, warden, she whispered, making her voice shake. He grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at him. His grip was strong. Your time here is what I say it is. Think about it. When she returned to the cell block, her body was tense with rage. Beatrice saw her and pulled her aside. He is watching you, Beatrice warned. When he looks at you like that, it is dangerous. She lifted her shirt, showing a network of old, ugly scars on her stomach. This is what happens when you say no to him more than once. Outside, the threat to Carmen was becoming real. A package arrived at Roberto's newspaper office. It was addressed to Carmen. Inside were photos. Photos of her elderly mother buying food at the market. Photos of her mother sitting by her window. There was no note. The message was clear: we can touch her. Later that day, Javier Rojas himself walked into the newspaper office. He smiled at the receptionist. I am looking for Roberto Sandoval. I have some information for him about a story. The receptionist, nervous, said Roberto was not in. Javier left his card on the desk. On the back, he had written a note. For Carmen Sanchez. Leniency is possible if she comes to me herself. That night, back in his apartment, Roberto showed the card to Carmen. Her hands were shaking. They have my mother, she said, her voice hollow with terror. We need to move you again. Now, Roberto said. He had made a call. I have a contact. A police lieutenant from Mexico City. He says he can help. He has a safe house for us. It was Lieutenant Raul Ortega. He was secretly coordinating the outside part of the operation. While Carmen and Roberto prepared to flee to the rural safe house, inside Cerro Negro, Rosa faced her greatest danger yet. She felt the hidden medallion under her clothes. The warden had scheduled her for overnight cleaning duty in his private quarters. It was a well-known trap. This was it. She was out of time. That night, in the darkness of her cell, she pressed the center of the medallion. The emergency signal. She prayed Ortega was listening. The next evening, Officer Luz Garcia came to escort Rosa to the warden's wing. Her face was pale. As they walked through the empty corridors, Luz leaned close. I am sorry, she whispered, so quietly Rosa almost didn't hear it. For what he will do. Then she opened the door to the warden's private living room and pushed Rosa inside. The warden was waiting. He had been drinking. The room was messy. He looked at Rosa with a dark, possessive hunger. Elena, he slurred. We are going to have a real conversation tonight. He moved towards her. Who are you? Really? You are not a teacher. I know it. Rosa kept her cover, backing away. I am no one, warden. Please. No, he said, grabbing her arm. You are a liar. But I will learn the truth. He was stronger than he looked. He threw her onto the couch. Rosa maneuvered, trying to keep her body between them, trying to get him to talk, to confess. The other women, they break so easily, he muttered, his face close to hers. But you are a challenge. Just as his hand closed around her throat, the phone on his desk rang. He cursed, ignored it. It rang again. And again. Annoyed, he got up and snatched the receiver. What? He yelled. Rosa could hear a panicked voice on the other end. It was Javier. It's all over the internet. Javier was screaming. Sandoval's newspaper. They published a story. About the prison. About the women. The warden's face went from red to purple with rage. What? They don't have everything. But they have enough. People are asking questions. The warden slammed the phone down. He turned to Rosa, his eyes wild. He knew she was connected. He knew it. "You," he roared. He stormed over and struck her across the face with his full force. The pain was blinding. Rosa fell to the floor. "You think you can destroy me?" he screamed. "In my own house." He kicked her in the stomach. "Guards!" 2 guards rushed in. "Take this lying snake to the hole," the warden ordered. "Let her rot in the dark." As the guards dragged her away, Rosa, through a haze of pain, felt a small surge of triumph. Carmen and Roberto had done it. They had lit the fuse. But now, she was being thrown into the darkness. The operation was compromised, and she did not know if anyone would reach her in time. The hole was not a hole. It was a tomb. A lightless, underground cell made of cold concrete. No window. No bed. Just a damp floor and a bucket in the corner. The air was thick and stale, smelling of waste and despair. The heavy door slammed shut, plunging Rosa into absolute blackness. The sound of the lock turning was final. She was alone. Her face throbbed where the warden had hit her. Her stomach ached from his kick. But the physical pain was nothing. The silence was worse. The darkness pressed in on her, a physical weight. She was a trained officer, but this sensory deprivation tested her mind. She fought back. She would not let them break her. She stood up in the dark. She began to exercise. Push-ups, sit-ups. She recited police protocols in her head. She counted her breaths. She counted the meals. A thin, cold gruel slipped through a slot in the door to track the days. 1 meal. 2 meals. 3. Above ground, the prison was in lockdown. Warden de la Vega and Javier Rojas used the published story as an excuse. "Contraband investigation," they announced. No one moves. But they were not searching for contraband. They were in the administration wing, shredding papers, burning ledgers, deleting files. They were destroying the evidence of their crimes. Officer Luz Garcia was assigned to guard the isolation cells. Her conscience was eating her alive. She had seen Rosa dragged away, beaten. She heard the warden's rage about the news story. She knew what was right, but fear held her back. On her second shift guarding the hole, she could stand it no longer. When no one was looking, she slid a full bottle of water and an extra piece of bread through the food slot. "Elena," she whispered into the darkness. Rosa, who had been sitting perfectly still, moved toward the slot. "I am here. I am sorry," Luz said, her voice trembling. She quickly moved away. Outside, in the rural safe house, Lieutenant Ortega coordinated the final stage. He had received Rosa's emergency signal. He knew she was in extreme danger. He met with Carmen and Roberto. "The story you published created the pressure we needed," he told them. "But it also made them desperate. We have to move now." Carmen made a decision. Hiding was not enough. She went on a local television news program. "My name is Carmen Sanchez. I was a prisoner in Cerro Negro. Warden de la Vega is a monster. He abuses women. He kills those who say no. The police, like Officer Javier Rojas, help him. I am speaking out because the women inside cannot." Her face was on every screen. The public was outraged. The regional governor could no longer ignore it. He was forced to announce an official inquiry. Inside the prison, after 3 days in the hole, Rosa was pulled out. She stumbled in the sudden light, making herself look weaker than she was. Her mind, however, was sharp. She noted the faces of the guards who had mistreated her. The warden looked at her, satisfied. He thought the darkness had broken her spirit. "Your friends cannot help you in here," he sneered. "I am transferring you to a facility in the mountains, a place where accidents happen." He thought he had won, but his network was fraying. Officer Luz Garcia, terrified but determined, went to Sonia Morales in the yard. "They are going to move her," Luz whispered. "They are going to kill her during the transfer. I cannot be a part of that anymore." Sonia nodded. She connected Luz with Beatriz Mendoza. Beatriz listened, her face grim. "We cannot let them take her." Using her influence, she organized the women. "When the signal comes, cause a distraction. A big one." Meanwhile, Javier Rojas, feeling the walls closing in, tried to save himself. He went to a district attorney to cut a deal. "I have information," he said, "about the warden, about the missing women. I want immunity." The district attorney smiled. "Of course. Tell me everything." Javier did not know the meeting was being monitored. Lieutenant Ortega listened to every word. Javier was walking right into their trap. The next morning, as Rosa was being prepared for transfer, chaos erupted. In the women's yard, a fight broke out. Then another. Soon, dozens of women were screaming, pushing, and overturning benches. It was the riot Beatrice had orchestrated. The guards were overwhelmed. The transfer was halted. In the confusion, Officer Luz Garcia slipped a key into Rosa's hand. It is for the maintenance exit. At the end of the east corridor. Run. Now, Luz pleaded. Rosa looked at the key. Her path to freedom was right there. But if she escaped, the operation would be over. The warden would destroy all the remaining evidence. He would spin a story about a dangerous inmate who fled. Everything would be for nothing. She had to stay. She had to see this through. She pressed the key back into Luz's hand. No, Rosa said firmly. But you can still help. Contact Lieutenant Raul Ortega at regional headquarters. Tell him everything. In that moment, Rosa was no longer just an undercover officer. She was a leader, making a choice for justice over her own safety. And she had turned a scared guard into a secret ally. The riot was contained. The warden, more paranoid than ever, had Rosa brought to his office. He had a new plan. He would break her himself. The warden's office felt different this time. Colder. More dangerous. He had Rosa tied to a chair. He circled her like a shark. The transfer is delayed, he said, his voice low and controlled. But not canceled. It gives us more time to talk, Elena. Or whatever your name is. He leaned close, his breath stale. Who do you work for? Who sent you? Rosa kept her head down, playing the broken inmate. She said nothing. Was it Rojas? The warden suddenly shouted, slamming his hand on the desk. That sniveling worm. I know he's been talking to the district attorney. Did he put you up to this? To replace me. Rosa saw her opening. She looked up, her eyes wide with fake fear. He said you were becoming a problem. Unpredictable. He said if I helped him, he would protect me. It was a seed of doubt, planted in the perfect soil of the warden's paranoia. His face twisted. He believed it. Meanwhile, outside, Officer Luz Garcia made the most important call of her life. Lieutenant Ortega? My name is Officer Luz Garcia. I am inside Cerro Negro. Captain Jimenez told me to call you. She is in grave danger. She quickly told him everything. The warden's private exit routes, the security codes for the administrative wing, the fact that Rosa was being held in his office. Ortega's team now had the blueprint they needed. At the same time, Carmen and Roberto organized their final move. They gathered with a crowd of reporters and concerned citizens right outside the prison's main gate. They held candles and signs that said Justicia. The media spotlight was now blinding. The warden couldn't make Rosa disappear with the world watching. Inside his office, the warden's phone rang. It was Javier Rojas, panicking. The place is surrounded. Reporters. Police. What do we do? You betrayed me. You traitor. The warden screamed into the phone. You sent this woman to destroy me. What? No. You're crazy. Javier yelled back before the line went dead. The warden turned back to Rosa, his eyes wild. He untied her from the chair, but only to grab her by the arms, his fingers digging in like claws. It does not matter who you are, he hissed. This ends tonight. He tried to force himself on her, his hands rough and violent. Rosa endured it, her mind cold and clear. She maneuvered them, struggling, toward the large window that overlooked the prison yard. As he forced her against the glass, she secretly pressed the center of her medallion again. The emergency beacon. A final, desperate signal. No one can hear you. The warden snarled, his face close to hers. The governor himself protects me. I own this state. He was confessing, naming names. And Rosa's hidden microphone, pressed against the window, was capturing every word. Outside, Lieutenant Ortega saw the signal. Go, 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 he yelled. Helicopters thundered in the sky, their spotlights cutting through the night. Tactical teams swarmed the prison gates. Javier Rojas, seeing the helicopters, ran for his car. He was cornered by journalists, including Roberto. Cameras flashed in his face. Officer Rojas, are you involved in the corruption? Did you help the warden silence women? Terrified, Javier pulled out his phone and made one last call to the warden. They're here. The federal police. In his office, the warden's phone rang again. He let go of Rosa to answer it. He heard Javier's panicked voice. He turned, stunned, to look at Rosa. She was no longer slouching, no longer playing weak. She stood straight, her eyes blazing with authority. The fear was gone. Warden de la Vega, she said, her voice clear and strong. cutting through the sound of the approaching helicopters. "I am Captain Rosa Jimenez of the Federal Police. You are under arrest." For a second, the warden was frozen. He could not believe it. Then, rage took over. With a roar, he lunged at her, his hands aiming for her throat. But Rosa was ready. Weakened but trained, she used his own weight against him. She spun, twisted his arm, and slammed him hard against his own desk, pinning him there. At that moment, the office door burst open. Lieutenant Raul Ortega and his tactical team stormed in, weapons drawn. The warden, pinned and defeated, looked at Rosa with pure hatred. "You will never make this stick. My friends will protect me." Ortega looked down at him. "Your phone calls to those friends have been recorded for weeks." The warden's face went blank. He finally understood. It was over. Down in the courtyard, the corrupt guards were being rounded up. But one officer made a different choice. Officer Luz Garcia, her hands shaking, used the key she had offered Rosa to unlock the administrative wing from the inside, allowing Ortega's team to enter swiftly. She then walked up to Lieutenant Ortega and handed him her service weapon. "I am surrendering myself," she said, her voice trembling but clear. "I am ready to cooperate." In the chaos, Carmen Sanchez entered the prison with the investigative team. She saw the corrupt guards in handcuffs. She saw the women, her friends, emerging from their cells, their faces filled with confusion and hope. Then she saw Rosa Jimenez. Rosa stood in the middle of the chaos, her uniform torn, a bruise forming on her face. But she was commanding the room. Carmen looked at her, this strong woman who had entered the belly of the beast, and she knew. This was the woman who had broken the unbreakable. Their eyes met across the crowd. A silent understanding passed between them. The battle was won.